Hey you guys, I am coming on really quickly before I get into the video. I am editing all of the footage of all of the stencil techniques and different ways to use stencils, and I probably have about 3 hours of just techniques and ways to use stencils. So I decided to break it up into at least two parts, possibly three, depends on how the editing process goes. But I hope that you find some new techniques in this video. I will be embossing with the stencils using watercolors, stamping, doodling, all sorts of different techniques. It's so much fun to just sit and create and kind of play around with all of the different mediums and different ways that we can use stencils. So if you found a new technique or a new way to use a stencil in this video, please let me know in the comment section which was your favorite and if you will be using it in any of your projects. So with that out of the way, I hope you guys enjoy this video. It has taken me days to edit. It's so much footage, but let's get into the video. All right, welcome back for another stencil video. If you haven't seen the cleaning tips video, I will have it linked down below and also in the right hand corner for you guys in the card. It will slide out in just a second, and so you guys can check it out. This one is going to be all about techniques. So I'm going to maybe do 15-20 techniques. I'm not exactly sure how many I have written down here, but there is quite a few. So grab a snack and some coffee, tea, whatever you want. And hopefully you guys find a cool technique that you may not have thought of or have seen, or something that you've used in the past and forgotten about. I am going to start off the cleanest ish techniques to the most messy. So the first one we're going to do is dry embossing with your stencils. Yes, I absolutely love doing this, although I always forget about doing this, but it is so fun, and you might have not have thought about doing it with your stencils. You can emboss with your stencils. So let's get going here. All right, so we are going to do some embossing with the stencils. So I have a pretty thick stencil here. This is a Gina K design stencil, and I'm going to put it on the, what is this? The platform. And then I'm going to stick the paper on. Then I'm going to take the embossing mat here, put it there, and then I'm going to take the embossing plate and stick it on top there. So every die cut machine will have a different sandwich, so you just have to figure out what is the best one for your specific die cut machine. This is a Platinum 6 die cut machine, so that's what I do for this one. To run it through. There we go. And you guys can see that it embossed it. And now I'm going to show you another cool technique using the stencil to emboss. I'm going to take Victorian Velvet and my makeup brush here. And I'm going to hold down the stencil. I'm not too worried about it being perfect, but I am going to blend this out. This way you have a whole different look. The first embossing technique was if you want maybe more subtle look in the background, just kind of want a little pop of texture on your card. This one is if you want that design to really pop and show. And you can definitely mask some of this off if you only want a portion of it, or you can always just use a portion of this. There's so many different ways to do this. I'm just showing you this first simple way. All right, pretty good, not perfect. Going to get our die cut machine. Okay, I apologize. It is stencil, paper, embossing mat, then embossing plate. So then we're gonna take this off. Then you have a cool, let me see, I don't know if you guys are gonna be able to see that. Maybe on the back you'll see it embossed, but it is raised on the front where we colored it. So you have a different look than this one here. Pretty cool. So it just gives a nice little bit of texture to any project that you want to use it for. Since we are talking about embossing, I'm going to be using some embossing powder with these stencils. And let's see. Let's try this stencil. So I use the PIXIE spray on the back of this stencil because I'm going to be doing some ink blending on here, and then I really want those lines to stay, although I didn't get it straight on there. So let's pick that up. All right, let's try that again. Right. All right, a little bit better there. You can use VersaMark ink and directly kind of like splotch it on here. And then after this, I will show you the next way that I would do something like this to add a bit of color to the project. See where all of that VersaMark ink is. All right, we're going to take a scrap piece of paper, get some embossing powder. Let's do black. I think that will look very classy. It's always good to have a brush so you can brush away all of that excess powder that you don't want. And using the PIXIE spray might have not been the best idea because it wanted to stick to where the PIXIE spray was. We are going to heat this, but keep in mind that I did use the PIXIE spray on the back of the stencil, so it did make the paper a little bit tacky in different places, so the embossing powder is sprinkled on in various places that it shouldn't. So another tip, don't use a PIXIE spray if you're going to be using the embossing powder. Okay, so we could have just used black ink with the stencil, but I think the embossing powder gives it a really nice classy look, and it gives it a nice interest to the card or the background of the card, or whatever you want to use this for. All right, so you can always go in and color the white areas now. I'm just using whatever ink was on here. This was the Victorian Velvet, just to give it a little bit of color depending on what you're using the project for. And then you go in with normally a baby wipe, but this will do for now. Then you wipe off the ink off of all of the embossed areas. So you have a nice subtle pink and black background. Well, it doesn't really show up pink actually because it's so subtle, but it's there. Just another little idea for you guys. All right, so we are going to use the resist spray with the stencil now. So we're going to be talking about a few different ways you can do resist techniques with stencils. So we are going to take a scrap piece of paper. We're just going to use this simple striped stencil here. All right, maybe I used too much. I guess we'll find out. All right, I'm going to lift this up. I did use a little bit too much, but that's okay. I'm going to stick this in my water over here, get that off. I don't want any of that on my stencil. Now we're going to let it dry. All right, so I'm going to be using some Altenew dye inks here. And what I'm going to do is take a brush and I am going to ink blend. Let's start in the center and just kind of fade it out there. You guys can see that the lines show up. And then what you want to do is take a cloth and wipe off the excess ink. And in true Tim Holtz fashion, it's not perfect. It definitely has that distressed look. A very cool technique to do with using a stencil. And the resist spray. So I actually really like this background. I have to play with it a little bit more to get yeah, so really cool. Okay, so the other resist technique is again using embossing powder or VersaMark ink and embossing powder, and then the embossing powder resists the ink. So that is another way to do that. I showed that with this one, but you can use white, gold, black, clear, whatever you want to do. And you can definitely do these techniques on colored cardstock or patterned paper as well. It definitely doesn't have to just be white cardstock. Just so keep that in mind. And let's do the next technique here. All right, the next technique is probably more for art journaling, that sort of thing, kind of doodling. And I'm going to take my purple tape. Going to flip this around. You can do this with circles, all sorts of things. So we're going to be using a pen to draw the hearts. So I cannot draw hearts to save my life. Circles either. All right, so we're going to do a couple different techniques with a stencil and markers, pens. You can use colored pencils, but we're kind of just doodling, I guess. This is really good for art journaling, that sort of thing. So we're just taking this micron pen here. Whoops. Drawing a couple here. And you can always use different colored pens. I don't really have a good pen collection, but I will be using some alcohol markers in just a second. All right, so these are alcohol markers, and we can go in and color in. So if we wanted to have a ton of different colors on here. This is an easy way to do it. So we can go in with this color. We can even color in those other ones here that we drew the outline with the black. To draw the outlines, you definitely need a really fine tip, and these micron pens are very good for that. I believe they come in different colors. Got purple. All right, and you could definitely do multicolors. These hearts are a little bit hard because they're so small. But I think you guys get the idea here. Let me show you guys. So you have lots of little hearts. Definitely won't use this on a card, but I think you guys get the idea. And you can clean up your stencil. You probably want to use maybe some StazOn remover, something like that to get the alcohol marker up. But that is another fun technique for you guys. All right, so now we are going to attempt to do a little bit of watercoloring using a stencil. All right, so I'm going to use this one here from Tim Holtz, and I'm going to do it like this so that I can adhere it. I, again, don't know if this is going to work, but what I'm going to do is spray a little bit of water on this watercolor paper. This is watercolor paper. Then we're going to take some of the dye ink and paint with it. So I'm gonna just pick this up. All right. My battery died, so I apologize. So we're back and we're going to be doing some painting here. So I have this little cube. You can always wipe it on a piece of plastic or something, the ink. But what I'm doing is, so I'm going dark. I'm probably not doing this right. And then as I keep going, it's gonna get lighter and then again lighter. So let's try dark, then a little bit lighter on this side, and then way light on this side. So dark. Again, this is watercolor paper. This is a watercolor brush with water in it. So as I need, I can push water out. Then the lightest on top here. So I think that's probably going to be the best way to do that. I'm gonna dark on this side. Oh. Did not want to do that. All right, well, we'll do dark and go light and lightest. So I think you guys get the idea. So we are going to pick this up, see if it worked, if it didn't bleed. Oh, yay, it worked. So you guys can see that you could definitely make some cool designs using so many different types of stencils. You can watercolor with them. Let's try the lined stencil, just because. All right, so I'm gonna pick up some of this, and because it's lines, I wanna make it a little bit straight. So we're going to do the top here, and squeeze out a little bit of water here. And do an ombre effect. Probably a little bit too much water I added there. So we got some lines there. So again, you can watercolor with a stencil. You just definitely have to be mindful of how much water you're adding to the watercolor paper, or else the design will get lost. So see there, really cool. Okay, so the next one is going to be sort of stamping with the stencil, or like reverse stencil technique, I guess it might be called. So this one has a lot of ink that is still on the stencil. So what I'm going to do is spray it with a little bit of water here. Let it sit a second. I think this is Distress Oxide Ink, if I'm not mistaken. Then I'm going to flip it over onto my cardstock. Then carefully take a paper towel and smooth it out a little bit here. And lift it up. Maybe I didn't add enough water, so let's try that again. A little bit more water there. I'm gonna flip it over, smooth it out, get any excess water. There we go. So that's a really cool background as well. So once you're done doing your inking and stuff, instead of just cleaning off your stencil, you could definitely do this technique, add a little bit of water, and then add it to another piece of cardstock. Or if you do art journaling, this is a good way to stretch all of those supplies. So that is another technique you guys can use. Okay, we are going to do some spraying now. And this is Distress Oxide Spray in Picked Raspberry. So pretty simple technique there. Just pick it up. And then again, you can use excess spray on here. There we go. See there? Then you're not wasting as much spray. And I'm going to do a couple different colors using sprays. This one is going to be a spun sugar and picked raspberry. So you can get kind of an ombre effect here with sprays. I'm going to go back over and pick this up. You can see there, it's lighter to darker. And we're going to take another piece of paper here. and stamp with it. Different look, but you're still using all of that well, a lot of the excess, not all, but a lot of it. Hey everybody, I am going to end the video now. I know it is kind of a weird spot to end, but I have so many more techniques to share with you. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I have to split it into at least 2 different videos because there is so many different techniques to share with you guys. But if you want me to do more of these types of videos where I share lots of techniques using one specific product, let me know in the comment section and I will definitely work on it. Definitely tell me what you would want me to do as well so that I have an idea. And for this video, I did keep all of my original talking in, throughout the video. That way I can share my thought process and my reaction and all that sort of thing. But if you would prefer a voiceover, let me know as well so that I can definitely do that for the next one. All right, that is going to be it for this video. I truly appreciate you guys and I will catch you guys later. Bye.